A very warm welcome as ever to our live show on this bitterly cold evening. The guests tonight have got me surrounded. They've ganged up on me. I'm always pleased because there'll be no shortage of chat between now and 5 to 8 this evening. The focus is firmly on football, but it's not just on the men's game. We've got a big focus on ladies football tonight, but should be considered as an entity in its own right, and that certainly is the very firm view of one of my guests this evening. Another of my guests is of my trade, of the journalism profession, Dom Howson, Sheffield Wednesday reporter for the Sheffield Star. He's this week been counting the number of shots the Owls have had on goal in November, which has left him with plenty of time to spare with that task completed earlier in the week. Dom, we have to have a little chuckle about these things, much as we hope that we see Sheffield Wednesday progressing in the Championship very soon, as Sheffield United are just currently. And here tonight, a new signing by the Blades, representing the Sheffield United ladies, is Carla Ward, no stranger to Sheffield Live, having joined us previously as the long-serving and very successful player that she was at Sheffield FC. Welcome again, Carla. Thanks. And a first-time welcome to the studio to Jane Watkinson of AFC Unity, who are one of only two women's teams, I think I'm right in saying, in the city of Sheffield, who are not affiliated to men's football. So really that's quite a big statement in itself, that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
As to what you're intending to do. Now, you're a co-founder of AFC Unity. You're also secretary, and you're also a player.
Yeah, I have a few roles. Yeah.
Before we go to Carla, just tell us how this came into being. I think you were formed in 2014. Just give us a little bit of a flavour of AFC Unity and what your aims are.
So I've played football all my life, so I'm a big football fan anyway. And fellow co-founder Jay, he's really interested in football as well. We've both worked in the community sector for several years. I was playing for another local team a few years ago and I wasn't really enjoying it, and it was more Jay's idea to go, hang on, we could do this differently, be an independent women's football club, but also have like a social political aim to it as well, because we do a lot of stuff with using the football club to make a social change and difference in the community as well. So it's not just about football, it's also about getting women involved who've never played before, or giving them the opportunity to get that experience of playing, because we do something called solidarity soccer. So women of all abilities and experiences can get involved, which is not something that many teams offer, really. So you've kind of had that, you have to have had that experience before to get involved in.
So it's the game for its own sake.
Yeah.
Very much for its own sake.
Yeah.
And to say that women's football should be considered. I think one of your aims is stated aims is you're challenging football's image as a man's game, if I'm quoting correctly.
Yeah. Central to the club's women's empowerment. It's all about that. It's feminist. We want to empower women who are involved in the club, in not just through football, but out. We get them involved in things we do in the community as well. So we're running like a trade union campaign soon. So a lot of women are getting involved in that. So it's not just about the football. It's like the football's like a tool to connecting with other community issues as well around Sheffield. So.
Right, we'll come back to you, Jane, but just on the other side of the coin, we've got obviously a very established football club in Sheffield United now embracing the women's game and thinking along, in common with many others, Liverpool, Everton, Chelsea, Arsenal, hey, we should have a women's team. So that's where you come in, Carla.
It is, yeah. Well, as you know, I've been involved in the women's game for quite some time, and in Sheffield now for 9 years. But it's interesting because over the years we've kind of looked at Sheffield United, who have had a very, very successful RTC and youth setup, and they've always produced good quality players. But actually, those good quality players have never really had anywhere to go because they've always sort of been a lower league grassroots club. And now what they've got is obviously the current ladies club that are sort of going up the leagues, but they've always produce players that then go to either Sheffield FC or Doncaster Bells or even Man City, sort of Everton, And if you actually look at the England setup, there's a huge number of players that have come out of the Sheffield United RTC, so they've got the model and they've got everything there. They've just never really had a ladies team in a sort of a competitive enough league for the girls to come out of. But now that's changing. With that changing, the men have obviously come on board and backed, the club have backed the ladies, which is great, because there hasn't been too much of it over the years within sort of the women's game. The men haven't been quick to back it. Now, obviously, more and more clubs are doing so, and it's good to see Sheffield United backing them as well.
Indeed. I mean, your background, for anybody who doesn't know, is a very distinguished one across, I think it was 8 seasons with Sheffield Club. And you made 221 appearances, scoring over 100 goals. And you left a few weeks ago, and people were surprised. But you've popped up pretty quickly. And I think it's quite interesting how the opportunity came about at Sheffield United. Just tell us a bit about the background to that before we bring Dom in here to talk about Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, I left, myself and Sheffield FC parted company, and at the time I was a little bit unsure of what direction I kind of wanted to go in. I had numerous offers from clubs, coaching, playing, WSL, Premier League. And I'd left training one night. I was training with somebody, and I'd left training and I got in the car and I had an answer phone message from an unknown number. And it was a certain Mr. McCabe saying to give him a call back. So obviously straight away I was straight calling him back. And he sort of just said, look, we've seen you've left Sheffield FC. We'd be really keen to have a chat with you. And that was the initial conversations. And I met up with sort of some of the board and Lee Walshaw, who's the general manager at the club. Met up with them, and straight away it was something that excited me. What they're trying to do and the project they're putting together, and actually where they see themselves over sort of the next 5 or 10 years, was exciting. And it was an opportunity really that I couldn't turn down.
Headhunted from the top, that's very impressive. And Kevin McCabe. We'll come back to you. I think people often, certainly Dom would agree with me, we kind of put 2 and 2 together sometimes with these developments when a player leaves a club or a manager leaves a club and then a few weeks later he pops up somewhere else. We always go, I bet that was privately sorted in the background, but that's clearly not the case here. There was a departure, you were considering offers, and Sheffield United pounced.
Yeah, I think as well. I don't think anybody in the women's game probably ever saw it coming, because I've always said, and I said last time I was here, I probably saw myself at Sheffield FC for life. And in football, I think we all know that no matter if it's the men's game or the female game, there's things change and things happen quickly. But I'm glad that sort of it happened quickly, because it kind of didn't give me too much time to dwell on things, and actually just got straight into Sheffield United, and I've been in 2 or 3 weeks and I've enjoyed every minute of it so far. Okay,
we'll talk more specifically about your role later, and also how close you might be to actually getting into the FA Women's Super League. I mean, Sheffield FC are in the second tier of that, aren't they?
Are, yeah.
Effectively, we've done miraculously well, as you know, over the years. Dom, suitably attired for this bitterly cold weather. In fact, it was snowing as you came in. You
it
said.
Certainly was, yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't know that because we were all here on time, and you walked in fashionably late as ever. So.
I'm just such a regular. I know the place inside out.
Yeah, you are. Your appearances. I can't use you again for another 4 months, otherwise an instalment kicks in, and which I can't afford. That'll be useful. That cardie there, that sweater for Saturday at Hillsborough.
Yeah, I've got a feeling it might come in handy on Saturday. Yeah. Temperatures are very much starting to drop now. But
they are. Are we going to see Sheffield Wednesday lift the temperature? 6 games unbeaten, which is great, but 3 dreary draws back to back. It's very unusual to be critical of a team and a club that's had a 6-match unbeaten run, but almost universally, not just fans, but journalists, you, Chris Holt, myself, we've all had to be, felt we've had to be critical of what we're seeing on the field at the minute.
It's frustrating for everybody watching them that that they're capable of so much more than what they're producing, and consistency is not there in the performances. Okay, results right now papering over the cracks a little bit, but like you said, 3 draws in a row. Admittedly, Bristol City at home, they're flying, having a great season. They're a tough team to beat. I still would have liked to have seen them play with a little bit more aggression on the front foot and taking it to the opposition, and they don't do that enough. Certainly from the start of matches, they don't play with that tempo and intensity. you only see it in flashes from them. You know, we've seen that at home to Leeds and Nottingham Forest, those games particularly, you know, stay with me, where I thought that, you know, they set the tone from the off, and at the moment they're not doing that, and you know, the league position reflects you know, the difficulties that they're having in being able to string that 90-minute performance together.
What is it? Is it a case of giving the opposition too much respect and paying too much attention to what the opposition does, rather than saying, hey, look, with the quality we've got here within this team, we've got to go for it and they've got to play on our terms? Should there be more of that?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's, you know, you take it as a compliment that you look at it and you think that the opposition, especially when they're coming to Hillsborough, that they're coming, a lot of them, to stifle and frustrate Wednesday.
We know that.
But yeah, we know that. Yeah. And the fact is that there's been such a big level of investment in this team that they should be good enough to get round that. And you know, 4 draws at home, draws is what's killing them. You know, and you know, the team down the road, they don't draw very many games, and that's you know, part of the reason that, you know, they even in the last 10 minutes or so, if the game's there to be won, they go for the kill, and Wednesday aren't doing enough of that.
Well, just had their first draw in 26.
Yeah, but that's a point since January,
yeah,
you know, and it's an amazing record.
It is, and the way they approach games is always on the front foot. And I do feel a bit of sympathy in the respect that, having a difficult season, as Sheffield Wednesday are, a very challenging season, they're always going to have that comparison thrown at them because of the proximity of the other team, and apparently doing so much of what should
and
be
they
happening.
haven't spent the money that what Sheffield Wednesday have. It's just there, it's in black and white, you can't avoid it. And you know, full credit to Sheffield United, they're having an amazing season. They're going to have a dip, I will say that about United, there will be, and it will be interesting to see how they come through that. But I think that they've got a manager there who will be able to handle that. But you know, coming back to Wednesday, you know, this month is humongous coming up. You know, this Christmas period, 6 games, they need, I think, 3 wins minimum, bare minimum, because the gap is 6 points between themselves and the playoffs. It could have been 8. It could have been even worse if Derby had won in midweek, but they lost at home to Ipswich. And you do just then wonder and think that we reached sort of the halfway point of the season around Christmas time, and yeah, if that gap gets any bigger, then you're almost looking at it as the season could be gone. Yeah. It's on a knife edge. The season's on a knife edge right now. There's no getting away from it. It just is, and that's why I think it's so important and vital that they beat Hull on Saturday.
Yeah, struggling Hull City, and the stats on shots, I know you're going to reel them off in a minute, and I've been looking at them. They're quite frightening, really. But just before we go back to Carla and go back to Jane, Hull City, despite their lowly position, are among the highest scorers in the Championship, as well as conceding near enough the most number of goals. Get a 0-0 out of that, Sheffield Wednesday. Get a 0-0 out of that. And let's hope not, you know, because we know what the team can produce. Let's hope to see them do it on what will be a big afternoon when the fans, I honestly feel, as I wrote in my column this week, they're more forgiving than people think, as long as the team's having a go. Make mistakes, but for goodness sake, start on the front foot and have a go.
I agree. Yeah, I agree completely.
You know.
But yeah, I did notice the pithy tweet that was sort of doing the rounds of remember the 5 shots of November.
Oh, that's good. I'm not
underline the 5 shots on target that Wednesday had in 4 matches, and yeah, again, for the quality that they possess, it's not good enough, and it's got to change. It's got to change pretty quickly.
I agree. Targets. We know, I'm going to talk to Carla before the break about Sheffield United's targets, which are well publicised. AFC Unity, women's only club, you know, is your target to serve the community, or is your target to achieve success on the field? I know you play at Furvale School, don't you?
We do,
your matches.
Yeah. I think the community aspect's really, really important to what we're about. But yeah, we'd like to do better on the pitch as well, because that's important as well.
How are you doing at the moment?
We're not doing so well in terms of points, but this season we've been playing the best football we've ever been playing. We've finally got like a squad that's really gelled so well together, and we're playing the football that we want to be playing, so we know the results will come.
This is in the Sheffield and Hallamshire Women's County League,
Yeah.
And you're one of just 2 women's-only clubs in Sheffield,
Yeah.
the other one being Socrates?
Yeah. They're in our
Right.
division as well, so.
Bit of a rivalry there, yeah.
Not really, no,
No?
because like I was saying to you earlier, the independent women aspect is just one thing to what makes us different. So we do all the other stuff as well, but also it's amazing that there's another club that's like that. It's important to have women, like independent women football clubs. If more form, that'd be awesome.
Indeed,
So it's no rivalry.
You're you're a bit of a pioneer in that respect.
Hopefully.
A pathfinder. FA Women's Super League, Carla.
Yes.
Sheffield United are now in Premier League Midlands Division,
Yep.
according to my notes. How far, because I should know, but I'm a bit ignorant about this, how far off the Super League is that then?
One division between the Super League and where Sheffield United are in the Midlands League now. So if they manage to do back-to-back promotions, it's a big ask. They've drawn 4 already this season, which is going to be a big ask because the couple of teams above them are not dropping points. So if they were to achieve that, there would be the Women's Premier League, then the Super League. However, this season, there's a bit of a restructure within the women's game. So you've got WSL 1 and WSL 2 is going to be... WSL 1 is actually going into a full-time professional league of 14.
Right.
And the Super League 2 is going to 12 teams. Immediately, that opens up 6 spaces to current clubs outside of the Women's Super League. Now, Watford have actually come out and said, look, we're not going to be going in for it. I think the men have kind of said, look, we're going to put you into sort of the community side of it. So there's another space. So you're talking 7 spaces straight away. Now, that's providing every current club remain in the Super League and get the licence that they've obviously applied for. If they all do, there's 7 spots. That's where Sheffield United can apply for the licence in March. So when March comes around, you'll probably see sort of 10 or 15 clubs in and around England sort of going for Super League 1, Super League 2. And Sheffield United are applying for WSL 2 status.
And you think, because of the name, the stability, the facilities, where do you play?
We train at the academy, and the current games are at the academy. However, next season, the ladies will be moving into... as it stands, the Olympic Park, the Olympic Legacy Park. There's a stadium being built there. So the ladies will be playing there. Do I think they'll get in? I hope so. The FA have certain criteria. One of them is sort of the ground, sort of the marketing, the facilities, the training, everything. Sheffield United, I think, tick a lot of the boxes. There's a couple of areas, but I'd say that with any club that looking sort of outside the WSL, because it is a big jump and there's a lot of things that clubs currently aren't doing that they'd have to change to get into the Super League. But it's all part and parcel between now and then. There's quite a few meetings with the FA where they can sort of find out where they're at and hopefully they'll get the status.
And how important is it? The club is clearly throwing heavyweight backing behind this. And the success of the team, Chris Wilder's team there, does that rub off?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, right now there's a buzz around the city, probably the Red Half. But, obviously it helps. If they go and get Premier League football, it's a massive scoop and it's great for the ladies. It's good to see, obviously, them doing so well in the first year of the Championship. And there is a real buzz around the club. I said to you before, one thing I found with Sheffield United in the first couple of weeks is it is actually like a Blades family. I went down to the game on Saturday and immediately sort of speaking to, the presidents, vice presidents, the directors, immediately they know who you are, what you've come in to do. And I think that little things like that are important. They're showing interest and all of them are interested and they're all sort of saying, anything you need, anything you want, we're here to help. So they're all backing the ladies' success. But you know what? They might not get Super League, but if they don't, they don't. The current squad are doing well, so... You're
assistant manager to Dan O'Hearn and you're under general manager Lee Walshaw, a former player at one time. I think he was on United's books some years ago, I seem to remember. He's based abroad, isn't he?
Lee Walshaw?
Lee Walshaw's
No, he's based here in Sheffield. He's based at the academy, actually. So yeah, he's been there.
I read that he got a very broad responsibility, but maybe I've got that wrong.
No.
Probably. It would be like me to get it wrong. But anyway, Lee Walshaw, Dan O'Hearn, yourself, and James Gregg in part 2 in 5 minutes. See you then.